we all make decisions that can either affect us and others at the same time. We all have free will to do as we choose in this life. There are certain professions and callings, if one decides to answer to and to become a part of it, then there is a certain lifestyle that goes with it. And in order for individuals to maintain that lifestyle, they have to live in accordance with the creeds, the standards, and the conduct that goes along with it. Tyrone Bowman Live. I'm going to be talking about a topic today. I'm going to show you a documentary in a few moments. And the documentary, I'm going to read this caption here. I found this video, and I think in light of what's going on within certain religious circles, it is apropos to talk about this. Now, let me preface this by saying this. There are hundreds of thousands of men and women of God from different faiths and religions who are doing a magnanimous work, and they are living according to the ethical standards that their religious persuasion calls them to. But then there is that group of individuals who think that they are above those standards, and they do as they choose to. This documentary, quote unquote, explores a seemingly idyllic Black American Christian family's hidden struggles. Through intimate interviews and archival photos, a complex web of secrets unfold, impacting multiple generations. The family's journey reveals the devastating consequences of deception and the arduous path to forgiveness. Give me a moment. It is hot up under these lights where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen, so I had to get some air on me real quick. According to the Holy Writ, or the Scriptures, in the book of Jeremiah, and I'm going to quote two passages of Scripture, 48th chapter and the 10th verse. And this passage of Scripture reads thusly. I know I sound like I'm in church, but I'll put it this way. It reads like this. Quote, "Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully." That's what it says. In the book of Numbers, chapter 32 and verse number 3. Now, throughout this video, I may get comments coming back and forth, and I won't necessarily respond to them because I want this video to be heard and seen in its entirety. So, but while I can real quick, I think you have the right to choose the religion. I agree with that, Frank. No problem with that. What's happening, everybody? All right, thank you. Okay, here we go. In the book of Numbers, chapter 32 and verse number 3 says, make sure I'm in the right one now. Let me fact check that one. Let me fact check that one before I quote it. Let me go to Google real quick. 32:23. Here we are. Not going to be misquoting the scripture. The 32nd chapter and the 23rd verse reads as this. Be sure your sin will find you out. Now, having said that, let's get this documentary started and find out what was the secret of this particular mega pastor, and why did he go through great lengths to try to hide it?
Eases pain, keeps autumn warm.
In home life, I'd always imagined. I was the first lady of a mega church, and we had it all. The big house, fancy cars, and a loyal congregation. But everything that glitters ain't always gold. and we were hiding a big secret. We having this perfect marriage, worship life, and family life.
We were the classic American Black Christian family.
Wait, what? Paul. He did what?
I had to hone in on my secrecy skills and lie.
We were just all beaten up by the trauma of it all.
Their secret broke us.
Lydia lost everything that she had.
Secrets are poison, and they will kill you. I just can't believe Mother has all these pictures of my family.
I know.
I'm Lydia Meredith, published author, pastor, luminary, activist. I'm mother of 3 magnificent sons. I have 6 grandchildren. That's Dennis and I riding a motorcycle together.
Oh, man. You all were such a beautiful couple.
When I think about my life, my faith has always been my driving force, and the church has always been my refuge. But it's also a place where I learned that deep secrets and keeping them is what's expected. I was born in 1952 in Macon, Georgia. That was when the civil rights movement was just beginning to start, but still Jim Crow was a reality. I had 5 older siblings and 4 younger. We didn't have a social life except for church.
Wednesday was Bible study, Friday was singing, choir rehearsal, and Sunday was church.
I was always so narrowly focused on being everything my dad wanted me to be, because that was my hero.
My father didn't go any further than the 3rd grade. So he wanted all of his children to be very well educated.
My mother was the disciplinarian. If you did something you weren't supposed to do, then, you just expect a real beating. So I was like the perfect kid, because my goal was to make straight A's and not get a beating.
Lydia was the smartest sister, ambitious. She got a scholarship to Vanderbilt.
In 73, I had finished my engineering program. In 1975, I had earned my master's. Life was moving perfectly according to plan. I moved to Birmingham, Alabama to start a new job, and I had a serious boyfriend. And then he wrote me that Dear John letter explaining he wasn't ready to make a commitment. I was devastated. After I got that letter, that's when I heard an inner kind of spirit voice say, Dennis Meredith is going to be your husband. Dennis was the youth pastor at Sardis Baptist Church, where I sang in the choir.
I saw Lydia for the first time. It would be back in 1977, and I was attending Sardis Baptist Church.
I had seen him, we had hung out, was never interested in it. But every mother that had a single daughter was in his face, because Dennis could dress.
Lydia was not First Lady material. Lydia was very loud. She came to church oftentimes with raggedy jeans on, but she was pretty, and she had some pretty legs.
I wasn't paying him no attention because I made more money than him. My mother had taught us to marry up, and I knew he wasn't making what I wanted him to make, but then a voice said, "You gonna marry Dennis." Over time, I started seeing Dennis in an entirely new light. I bought a nice house on a corner lot in a white neighborhood.
She has a housewarming, so she invited me over.
Sit
came to my housewarming. Remember? I remember they came with me. And Dennis was at the housewarming. Y'all interrogating him. Said, don't you like my daughter? Embarrassing.
And so her mother looked at me. She said, Lydia, this man is a nice, you might think about marrying him. And I was like, oh, shoot.
We were friends. We just hanging out. Mm-hmm. And then I had that voice. I heard something. I don't know what it was. I know. And look at us right now. A match made in heaven. Then one night, he came over to fix my television. And I fixed him something to eat.
When I tell you that woman could cook, do you hear me? I'll never forget, she fried me some fish. When I got through, I said, I better marry her.
And we just started dating.
My family loved her. My mother was like, Dennis, you gotta marry this girl.
To my surprise, he said, Lydia, I think we need to pray about getting married. But later, he said, I changed my mind. I think it's too early. I said, all right, bye. I went home and I started praying. I said, God, if this is not supposed to happen, just take these feelings away. And when I got up off my knees, Dennis was knocking on my door.
Style and substance.
I don't believe in premarital sex because the Bible say this. But at night, we got to do, you know. She was the best I'd ever had.
After that, we prayed all weekend.
And then I do recall doing the one knee and, just saying, let's get married. I want to marry you.
We were married in December of 78. Everybody and their mama came. The church gave me the most beautiful wedding you had ever seen.
She loved Dennis. They were just inseparable.
We made the decision to have children immediately.
And Taylor was born in November of 1979.
Child, me and my son, oh, we were together everywhere. I was just so happy.
And then Mikey was born in February 1981. Then Dennis got his first church, Mount Zion Baptist Church. We still in the honeymoon stage with 2 babies. And the sex was amazing. He was an amazing dad. It was the best years of my life. I had the marriage and home life I'd always imagined. Until one night in 1983. We went to choir rehearsal or some church event. I'm exhausted working all day. And I went to bed.
So I was at church, and when I left, something said, go home. I didn't go home.
2:00 in the morning, I get this call. Your husband has been arrested. I couldn't believe it. Arrested for what? I couldn't believe it. Arrested for what? Dennis and I, we have this perfect marriage and family life. And out of the clear blue sky, I get a call about 2:00 in the morning that Dennis was arrested. I couldn't believe it. Not my husband.
It was on a Monday night in the summer of 1983. I was thinking, how am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do to hide this?
So I called my neighbor next door and asked her to come over and watch the kids. So I went downtown to pick Dennis up.
I didn't want to call Lydia. I think part of that was motivated. Let me get out of this. Go home, and she would never know. But the police called Lydia.
When I walked into that police station, he had his head hung down, and he was in tears. The policeman said he was in a theater, and he solicited a planted male police officer.
It was entrapment, but I shouldn't have been there.
That didn't make sense to me because it was all over me. And he seemed like he was happy with the sex. I didn't even know what solicited meant until afterwards. I was brokenhearted. I was humiliated. And so I just shut it out.
And then Lydia bailed me out. I expected outrage, but her response was it's like she dismissed it, like buried it.
He cries the entire ride from the police station to the house, and I was silent the entire time. And so I went to bed, and I had stopped speaking to him.
My first thought was that I didn't want to lose my berries or my children. That was always a forefront.
And then he said he was sorry, and I'd never do it again. And I believed him. So I was willing to say, hey, that's over now.
I didn't want to ever confront this painful experience again.
Because Dennis was pastor at Mount Zion Baptist Church. We didn't want it to get out that he was involved in a scandal.
Had I gotten exposed, they probably would just, voted me out of the church. But she covered, she never said anything.
Dennis continued to pastor at the church. But soon he started telling me he wanted a change of scenery and a fresh start.
Let me interject this right here. This business about the wives of pastors, bishops, apostles, archbishops, evangelists, suffering in silence has got to stop. Many times all the warning signs are there. The evidence is there. Everything is staring you right in the face, but individuals refuse to believe what they know. And you know what keeps them there? Because many times, especially with the mega pastors and all these people, it's the money, the materialism, the so-called trappings of success, not being mired in debt and poverty. And they know what their spouse is doing. Yet they have this wall of silence and secrecy within certain religious circles, and they refuse to go against it. Is this an indictment on all clergy? No, it is not. This is the story of one now ex-mega pastor and his ex-wife, and the secrets that he withheld from her. And even once they began to come to light, and you will see as the story continues, it wasn't until something almost tragically occurred that she decided to react. And lastly, I'll say this: people's lives are at stake, men and women, when they put their faith and their trust in their spiritual leader or leaders, and they are adhering to the teachings, the preaching, the principles, and all the different things that they tell them to, and then they find out that there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And in another video, I'll bring up, if I can find one, I'm going to look for it. I'll bring a video of men and women of God who are doing the right things all the time. But right now, I'm focusing on this particular story. Let's get back to it.
Decided he wanted to go to seminary. So he put in applications for seminaries. He was a gifted preacher. And so he could go wherever he wanted to go. But he decided he wanted to move to California, of all places. I said, oh my God, he wants to go across the country.
I wanted to get the hell up out of there and go to California. In some respects, I was running from what had happened.
After the move to California in late 1983, Dennis and I got our groove back. And while he was still in seminary, he got an offer to become a pastor at Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Oakland. I was going.
Ladies and gentlemen, give me a moment. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I had to take a quick break. Now let's get back to this.
Worked for Pacific Gas and Electric Company. Dennis was excited about rebuilding his ministry life
That's
there.
not fair to you all. Let me rewind it just a little bit.
I said, oh my God.
This little thing helped me more than my last therapy session. It's called
I want to be fair to my audience. I don't want to just not bring you up to speed.
I wanted to get the hell up out of there and go to California. In some respects, I was running from what had happened.
After the move to California in late 1983, Dennis and I got our groove back. And while he was still in seminary, he got an offer to become a pastor at Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Oakland. I was going to work for Pacific Gas and Electric Company. Dennis was excited about rebuilding his ministry life there.
After we got there, Lydia had Eddie. I was so thrilled.
Then Dennis got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go on a month-long missionary trip to Africa. He came back really excited about ministry. And he tells me about opportunities for him to go to different churches and preach. And he would travel with these pastors all over the place. Over the next several years, even though he was in and out, Dennis was a model pastor, an attentive husband, and a loving father.
My parents were the perfect complement to each other. I saw a lot of love between the both of them, especially my mother towards my father. We were just tight-knit, extremely affectionate. There was never any tension.
We had weathered the storm until one Saturday in 1991. I remember one day I go out in the garage and I find a video. And it's a video of men having sex with men. And I am in shock. What is this? Where did this come from? Why is this in my house?
Lydia puts this video in my face. What is this? She's angry too. And so I said, it's a porn video. I like to look at porn. And she said, but you're a preacher. So I told her how I've looked at porn all my life.
Cognitively, there was a connection from when he behaved that way 8 years ago when he was arrested. Obviously, there was a connection, and I was upset.
We argued all day, all night. And so we got up normal Sunday morning, went to church, non-confrontational. But something in me just said, tell the truth. That Monday morning, I called her on her job, and I said, Lydia, if you're willing and ready, I'm going to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you everything.
I had come home from work. I was nervous because I still didn't have any answers. We retreat for the evening, He sits on this orange chair that's in our bedroom. He said, I'm bisexual.
And I told her everything. My sexuality, the infidelity, the sex with men, all of it.
I let him finish talking. I didn't interrupt him at all. He had been doing the entire marriage. I was ready to collapse.
And I'm thinking, she's going to divorce me.
He said to me, it's just sex, and I love you, and I want my family. And I believed him.
Lydia says, we'll get therapy, we'll figure it out, because I'm not going to divorce you. And because I wanted my family and I wanted my marriage, I said, yes, okay, we will figure this out.
I listened to this Christian radio broadcast, and they were talking about conversion therapy. I said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm hearing this. And I told Dennis about it.
And we researched this organization called Meyer Clinic in Los Angeles. After a week in the clinic, they come to me and say, well, since you have such a high sex drive, we want to give you something that's going to curb that. Take away, that desire. I'm like, what the hell is this? I called Lydia.
I said, just forget it, because we enjoy our sex, so just come home, Dennis.
They gave me a list of therapists when I checked out. So we picked a therapist who was not in our area.
And so she diagnosed me as a workaholic, and she called him a sex addict. We agreed to do the work for the sake of our marriage and our family. So I focused on my work-life balance. And Dennis promised to stop having sex outside of our relationship. I try to be better as a wife and as a mother. Every week we would go out, just the two of us, and have quality time together. But Dennis would tell the therapist I didn't give him enough sex. And I said, oh my God, how much sex does he want?
The therapist tells us, do not judge his addiction, because addiction is addiction is addiction. We go to her for about a year. It was at that point that I said to myself, I'm a bisexual man, and the hell with all of this trying to get rid of it. And so I knew I violated her trust. What's interesting is people demonize the cheater, and they think you don't feel. But that's not true. When you love somebody, you hurt like they hurt. I was just, I just continued to do what I was, but I didn't say anything to Lydia because she thought that I had changed.
He hid it. It was nothing in me that made me think that he wanted anything different than to be with me and save his family. I didn't see anything else except a faithful husband and a great father. I believed in our marriage, and I believed that he could stay faithful. So I was determined to make sure our skeletons remained hidden and that everything appeared to be normal.
My mom worked a lot. My dad most of the time was at home with us. He did a lot of the cooking, a lot of the helping with homework. It was the classic American Christian family. We prayed before our dinners. We went on family trips. My parents were extremely affectionate towards each other. We knew they were in love.
I didn't know at the time, but rumors started to spread out our church family like a wildfire. One Sunday, this girl comes up to me and says, your husband is a hypocrite. I saw him with such and such and such, and he was clearly effeminate. I said, well, I promise you he's not a hypocrite. And I didn't entertain that any further.
And I remember this one lady came up to me, and they said, you homosexual? We ain't never had no homosexuals in this church until you got here. Everybody knows the musician, the chairman of the trustee board, the president of the choir, they were gay. But I just kind of shrugged her off. I said, oh, well, I didn't know nobody was gay in this church. And I walked away.
For me, it was solving the problem. My focus and my vision always goes to how to fix it, how to make it work, how to succeed, how to win, how to get what I want. That's the way I am. How to make it work.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to make this a two-part video. I'll be back later on this evening with part 2 of The Pastor's Secret. Unlocked Family Secrets. Remember, this is not an expose, this is a documentary. And this is not an indictment on all men and women of the clergy. So later on, never surrender, never quit.